Chapter 14. But I had my own little bang-tail ideas, and they had nothing to do with the lunatic part of all this. I wanted to get me a full pack complete with everything necessary to sleep, shelter, eat, cook, in fact the regular kitchen and bedroom right on my back, and go off somewhere and find perfect solitude and look into the perfect emptiness of my mind and be completely neutral from any and all ideas. I intended to pray too, as my only activity. Pray for all living creatures. I saw it was the only decent activity left in the world. To be in some river bottom somewhere, or in a desert, or in mountains, or in some hut in Mexico or shack in Adirondack, and rest and be kind and do nothing else. Practice what the Chinese call do nothing. I didn't want to have anything to do, really, either with Japhie's ideas about society. I figured it would be better to just to avoid it altogether, walk around it, or with any of Alva's ideas about grasping afterlife as much as you can because of its sweet sadness and because you would be dead someday. When Japhie came to get me in the following morning, I had all this in mind. He and I and Alva drove to Oakland in Morley's car and went first to some Goodwill stores and Salvation Army stores to buy various flannel shirts at 50 cents a crack and undershirts. We were all hung up on colored undershirts. Just a minute after walking across the street in the clean morning sun, Japhie said, "You know, the Earth is a fresh planet. Why worry about anything?" Which is true. Now we were foraging with bemused countenances among all kinds of dusty old bins filled with the washed and mended shirts of all the old bums in the Skid Row universe. I bought socks, one pair of long woolen Scotch socks that go way up over your knees, which would be useful enough on a cold night meditating in the frost. And I bought a nice little canvas jacket with zipper for 90 cents. Then we drove to the huge Army-Navy store in Oakland and went way in the back where sleeping bags were hanging from hooks and all kinds of equipment, including Morley's famous air mattress, water cans, flashlights, tents, rifles, canteens, rubber boots, incredible doodahs for hunters and fishermen, out of which Japhie and I found a lot of useful little things for bhikkhus. He bought an aluminum pot holder and made me a gift of it. It never burns you, being aluminum, and you just pluck your pots right out of a campfire with it. He selected an excellent duck-down used sleeping bag for me, zipping it open and examining the inside. Then a brand new rucksack, of which I was so proud. "I'll give you my own old sleeping bag cover," he said. Then I bought little plastic snow glasses just for the hell of it, and railroad gloves, new ones. I figured I had good enough boots back home east, where I was going for Christmas. Otherwise, I would have bought a pair of Italian mountain boots like Japhie had. We drove from the old Oakland store to Berkeley again, to the ski shop, where, as we walked in and the clerk came over, Japhie said in his lumberjack voice, "Outfit me friends for the apocalypse." And he led me to the back of the store and picked out a beautiful nylon poncho with hood, which you put over you and even over your rucksack, making a huge hunchbacked monk, and which completely protects you from the rain. It can also be made into a pup tent, and can also be used as your sleeping mat under the sleeping bag. I bought a polydenim bottle with screw top, which could be used, I said to myself, to carry honey up to the mountains. But I later used it as a canteen for wine more than anything else, and later when I made some money as a canteen for whiskey. I also bought a plastic shaker, which came in very handy, just a tablespoon of powdered milk and a little creek water, and you shake yourself up a glass of milk. I bought a whole bunch of food wraps like Japhie's. I was all outfitted for the apocalypse indeed, no joke about that. If an atom bomb should have hit San Francisco that night, all I'd have to do is hike on out of there, if possible. And with my dried foods all packed tight and my bedroom and kitchen on my head, no trouble in the world. The final big purchases were my cook pots, 2 large pots fitting into each other, with a handheld cover that was also the frying pan, and tin cups, and small fitted together cutlery in aluminum. Japhie made me another present from his own pack, a regular teaspoon, but he took out his pliers and twisted the handle up back and said, "See, when you want to pluck a pot out of a big fire, just go flop." I felt like a new man.